What's up, guys? So I decided I'm gonna do a little bit of a story time here, as I got a little bit of time with the coronavirus and all that. And I think I'm just gonna talk about my ex and pretty much everything that's happened to me over like the last 10 years or so. And basically how I got red pilled. I've talked about this before, but maybe not quite as in-depth. I think I'm gonna make a really in-depth video. So buckle up, I'm gonna really talk about my life personally, and I'm gonna talk about how I got red pilled. So I'll be talking a lot about like girls and like my experience with girls, my experience with life in general, my history, my childhood a little bit, and mostly from a red pill perspective, mostly just from like how I got screwed over, how I became red pilled in the first place, etc. So to start off, I gotta talk about my childhood because most people's childhood is somewhat of a precursor to how they become, or, what they become in life and things like that. So my childhood was a bit different. I was born in a small city in the middle of Washington State called Moses Lake. Just a cow town kind of like, but we had some great times. My dad was a interesting guy. He played guitar. He was kind of a roustabout. He was kind of a hippie. He met my mom in church, and he had long hair. And he was wearing no shirt, no shoes, just a pair of overalls. And that's the kind of guy he was, right? He was kind of a happy-go-lucky guy. He was smart. He just wasn't all that studious, I guess you could say. He didn't really apply his smarts. He was very artistic, very right-brained, or left-brained. I don't know what the fuck the difference is nowadays. But anyway, very artistic. So he met my mom in church. My mom was kind of a loose girl a little bit. Maybe, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I've been thinking about how maybe that is, maybe shaped me. My mom, being sort of, like she grew up in Seattle. I didn't grow up in Seattle. I grew up in Moses Lake, Washington, and Spokane, Washington, right? And Spokane, Washington is very conservative. I had a hard time in Moses Lake. I have red hair. I grew up having red hair, obviously, and it was hard at first because the kids in Moses Lake, they made fun of me for having red hair. So like I was out of it. I was out of like the loop. I wasn't one of the cool kids there. But then I moved to Spokane, which was like a conservative area, and Moses Lake is a lot like Seattle. It's very, in my opinion, everything east of Spokane is more or less basically just like Seattle. It's just like Western Washington. Everybody's liberal, and liberal people are just assholes. They claim they have moral superiority, blah, blah, blah. It's a bunch of bullshit. They really don't. They're really just assholes. They care about money. They care about themselves, and that's it. And a lot of my getting red pilled was because of liberal women, young liberal women, right? So I grew up having red hair, got made fun of, moved to Spokane, Washington, which is conservative, and I loved it, and it was great. People accepted me, people liked me. I was good at sports. I was super good at football, right? But I had a hard time at home. And at home it was like my parents were fighting. My dad was an alcoholic. There's not a lot of loving, bonding moments between my parents, and probably to some degree that may have shaped who I am. But I'm really a quagmire. I'm a quagmire of a lot of different elements. Like my dad was kind of a hippie, kind of reminded you, like if you met him, he would kind of remind you of like Hunter Thompson kind of style guy, like real independent, fiercely independent, but loved drugs, liked to be drunk, was kind of jovial and fun, but he was basically a junkie, right? With alcohol, not like heroin or anything, but just like he was an alcoholic, right? And he did like, he sniffed glue and different shit like that. He wasn't really into weed, but he was basically he just really liked alcohol mostly. So let's see. Yeah, that caused a lot of turmoil. Growing up, he ended up leaving when I was 12, right? So that was a huge thing that hurt me a lot in life. And I think that was one of my first biggest hurts in life was him leaving, and him him and my mom not having a loving relationship. was a lot. There was a lot of pain from that, right? A lot of pain from that. So that happened all up until I was 12, and that sort of set the course for my life, which basically I'm not sure what that did. It basically introduced a lot of pain into my life. It caused me to be in pain a lot, because, you know, every kid wants his parents to love each other. Every kid wants his family to be together and loving and things like that. I can't say that that's the reason why I got red pilled. I can't say that's the reason that I went down the route that I went. I think that's just a coincidence. Like, I just happened to have a shitty home life. My parents just happened to get separated. In fact, they never divorced, because my mom is religious. She didn't believe in divorce, and my dad was just such a junkie that he never met anyone else. He left and he just did his own thing for like fucking 20 years or something. Well, no, it was like 15 years, and then he died. So like, I think he died at 61. So he left when he was like 46 or something like that. My parents had me late. I think my mom was 39 when she had me, and my dad left when I was 12, and my mom was a few years older than my dad. So kind of weird, strange stuff there, but or at least unorthodox, we'll put it that way. But my whole family life was definitely unorthodox. We were poor. My dad didn't make a lot of money, but we still kind of had a house and stuff. I remember once he bought me, he made me a tree house. It was one of the coolest shit, you know, one of the coolest things to ever happen to me in my life. Some of the coolest shit that I've ever experienced, and you know, in that house that we had a lot of fun times. It was weird because it was like, even though we had such a bad childhood, there was a lot of fun things that we did. We went sledding. We'd play games and stuff. We'd play board games together. We'd like, you know, my dad would, he built me like these swords out of trees and stuff. And like, we played pirate and all kinds of cool, fun stuff. And like, I had a lot of good memories as a kid, you know, but at the same time, there was a lot of really bad memories. I remember the cops coming to our house. I remember my mom and dad fighting, my dad hitting my mom, you know, like twice. He wasn't very physically abusive, but every once in a while he would hit her, but like very, very, very rare. I think it was only like twice in like my entire life. But it was because she would fight with him. She would push him to the extent that he would yell, and there would be fighting, and it would occasionally, very rarely, but occasionally get physical, very, very rarely, like I said, or else, you know, their marriage would have ended a lot sooner. But anyway, so that put a lot of pain in my life, and I think because of that, it made me, I wasn't an asshole. Like, I talked to a lot of people who know about suffering. You know, I talk to a lot of people who can relate with being poor, a lot of people who can relate with being the underdog, a lot of people who can relate with being, you know, kicked to the curb and not accepted and things like that. Well, me growing up poor in that kind of household really showed me what suffering was. And I think that on the one hand, it was very traumatic, and then probably I'm 100% sure that I had PTSD until I was like at least 25, and I learned how to deal with it, and like, you know, got into like ways of healing myself and things like that. Oh God. Yeah, this guy's following me. I'm just fucking sorry. I'm driving out here. Anyway, you know, I didn't want this guy to follow me, but I turned right to get rid of him, and he turned right too. So it's like fucking hell. Anyway, so let me think. Yeah, so like I learned how. So like on the one hand, there was a lot of pain there. On the other hand, it was like, you know, I could relate with suffering. Like, damn, I've been through it. You know, I've suffered like this. That was a lot of pain. You know. There was a lot of pain, not only just being poor, but it was a lot of pain having that scenario for parents, having parents like that, having a father who was an alcoholic, having a mother who, you know, was kind of a, you know, she was kind of crazy. She was kind of like a pack rat, and like, you know, just different stuff, man. And so like I don't know, like, yeah, that's the only life that I knew. And I always was like, I was never like a home kid. I never stayed home. I was always out. I was always out making friends. I was always out tramping around. So like, I was able to see other, you know, other ways of life. I was able to like, you know, look at people, look at the way other people lived and like kind of compare it with the way I lived. So I knew, that we were not normal. Let's put it that way. I knew we were not normal. And that actually caused a lot of pain in my life, just in general. Just that fact that we weren't normal caused a lot of pain in my life. So I was embarrassed of who I was for a long time. I was very embarrassed of who I was. And it really caused me to have low self-esteem, because I wasn't proud of who I was. And I think a lot of people, they have that. They have pride in who they are. Just because they have a family unit and a family to fall back on. I think part of having a family and part of being, you know, having love with, you know, with your siblings and your parents, there's a security there, and that security is like, you feel safe in the world, you know. And I didn't feel safe in the world, and I didn't feel like that for a lot of years, until I really kind of found God. I never felt safe. And that was one of the things. So it's like, for anybody, I was having this discussion about race recently with some people online, and they were talking about how like, oh, you just don't understand, you were never, because I was talking with these black guys, and like I said, I'm white, you know, I'm a white guy with red hair. Like, how the fuck could I relate with some black guys, right? And it's like, no, I get it. I fucking relate, because I know what it is not only do I know what it is not to have pride in your physical appearance, because I was constantly made fun of. Girls called me ugly growing up. I had some girls say horrible things to me, man, and I've been rejected a lot in my life by girls. And then I've had a lot of girlfriends too. So it's just like, it's weird how that works, you know. I mean, I'm not totally rejectable. Obviously, a lot of girls think I'm cute. So it's like, it's just one of those things where like, I know what prejudice is, man. I know what prejudice is. I know what people thinking you have lower value than you actually do is. I know what that is, because I've been in all those situations where people have made fun of me. People have made fun of me for my hair. People have made fun of me for being poor. People have, you know, a lot of girls have rejected me, called me ugly, said I was fat. All kinds of stuff, man. Like, I got a whole laundry list of stuff, right? So for someone saying like, oh, you just can't relate, well, maybe not in the exact same way, but I can relate almost to the T. Like, I know what it is to be poor. I know what it is when your dad leaves. Okay, I know what it is when society doesn't accept you. I know what it is when people make fun of you. I know what all of that is. Like, people think like, oh, just because you're white, you must be accepted and like everything's great and you get free shit and you're rich. Like, no, fucking no, man, not at all. So, let's see, where am I at now? So right now I'm at about 6th or 7th grade, which was a turning point for me between 6th and 7th grade, because my dad left when I was in 6th grade, and 7th grade I was on my own. Right? 7th grade, I was on my own. And thankfully, I had basketball. Thankfully, I had friends. Like I said, I was always able to get out there and leave my tumultuous home and make friends and get the hell out of there, right? So because of that, I was able to see different experiences. Because of that, I was able to, relate with people and make interesting connections, and actually experience life. You know, I would say to anybody who's suffering or whatever, get out of the house, man. first thing, get out of the house. You know, go for a walk, ride your bike, go for a drive, go for a hike, talk to people, because there's a lot of great people out there, man. There really is. And if you stay inside, it's easy to just be like, oh yeah, the world sucks, everybody's mean, and woo woo. You know, just because you see some, or just because you talk to some mean people on Facebook or something, and then yeah, there's a lot of shitty mean people on Facebook because they have no lives and they sit on Facebook all day and then they hate on people. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of great people out there. It's just we don't meet them because we're not out in the world. We're not out talking to people. We're not out mixing and mingling. We're just sitting at home. And so like, that was one of the best things that happened to me. The other great thing that happened to me, like I said, was basketball. I learned how to play basketball, and my older brother was great at basketball, and I wanted to be like my older brother. Actually, I had 2 older brothers who played basketball, and I wanted to be like them. And I love basketball. I played basketball, and that gave me, people respected me because I was good at basketball. And I committed to basketball, and it was like a talent, and it was a fun thing that I did, but it was also like, it was a part of my personality. It became a part of who, you know, my identity. And because of that, people were like, oh, that's Jay, like he plays basketball, like he's good at basketball. And so everybody like liked me because of that. Everybody respected me, so it was easier to make friends, right? So that helped a lot. But I still was poor, and I still had that bad family foundation. So because of that, I had very little self-esteem. Because I had very little self-esteem, and because I remember girls calling me ugly, and like I went through I did go through an ugly phase where I was overweight and shit, and like girls called me fat and like totally rejected me, and you know, this, that, and the third. And that was kind of my first introduction to hypergamy. That was like my first little introduction to how cruel girls can actually be, right? And like, now that I actually get out in game, now that I actually like spend time going out and learning social skills and talking to girls and like things like that, one of the things that I learned was one of my biggest hangups was from those early days when girls would make fun of me and girls would call me fat, and it's like it was like, and girls would reject me. And so it was like this thing where, because you have negative experience, that's what you think is going to happen, because you have positive reinforcement of negativity, right? If that makes sense. There are experiences where you get reinforced the fact that, oh, women don't want me, women don't like me because I keep getting this same result, right? And it's been my theory that women do this on purpose. Women reject guys on purpose. They might even be attracted to you. And I've been through this a lot in my life where I gotta tell a girl is attracted to me, but she rejects me because I'm a 7 as opposed to a 10. They only go for the 10s. If you're not a 10, you might as well be a 2. And that's how women treat you. And that's one of the reasons why I realized women are cruel. Like, hypergamy is cruel. Female nature is cruel, because I know for a fact girls think I'm attractive. I know it because first of all, I can see it in their faces. Second of all, I've had a lot of girlfriends. Third of all, I've had a lot of sex. Okay. The difference is though that like, I know that I'm not a 10, right? I know I'm not a 10. So it's like, you have to fool the system. You have to like act like you're a 10, act like you're a badass, act like you're a bad boy, act like you got all the confidence in the world, so you can fool the system, so they can think, oh, this guy has positive reinforcement, because that's how the female brain functions. That's how female nature works, right? They say, oh, this guy is confidently talking to me. He's funny, he's making eye contact, he's standing up straight, he's dressed well. This guy must get laid a lot. This guy must have a lot of good, positive experiences with women. That creates attraction. When you show those values, attraction is created, because they're like, oh, this guy's a winner. Girls constantly are giving him positive reinforcement. He's a winner. And it can go the other way as well. If you are nervous around a girl, you don't make eye contact, you're shy, you don't know what to say, you fumble over your words, you're not dressed well, you don't stand up straight, They think, oh, this guy's a loser. This guy gets rejected by women a lot. I don't want him. And that right there is that's the female brain in a nutshell. That's female nature right there in a nutshell. Of course, yes, it's deeper than that. It's broader than that. Yes, you got to make money. Yes, you got to build comfort. You got to build attraction. You got to do all these little steps that we're taught in game and etc. to attract and keep a girl and get her in bed, etc., etc. Yes, you have to do all those other things. But bottom line, she could tell within, this is why they say that, oh, a woman can tell within a few minutes of meeting you whether or not she wants to sleep with you. That's true. Based on those cues, right? And it's even a lot deeper than that. There's something called pre-selection. Of course, we got, you know, social proof, etc., etc. And it goes way deep. I mean, the female nature is just wow. You know what I mean? Wow. And that's why at the end of the day, money is what really matters. Money is what really keeps them around, because most guys don't pass any of that shit. Most guys, all they can do is make a paycheck. They don't know how to talk to a girl. They don't know how to make eye contact. They don't know how to show social proof. They don't know how to be confident. They don't know what to say, when to say it, etc. And it's just like, it's fucking hard. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I used to play varsity basketball. Basketball's a pretty hard sport. And like, I was pretty good at it. And I practiced for 7-8 years, like 2 hours a day, every day. And I got to the point where I was varsity basketball. I was getting, you know, letters of recruitment from colleges and things like that. It didn't work out for me, but you know, that's how. So I'm not some idiot who doesn't know what he's talking about. Game and picking up women and building attraction, etc., is fucking hard, and that's why money pretty much trumps all of it, right? Money trumps everything. So and that's just female nature. And so I'm pretty fucking qualified to talk about what I'm talking about. Anyway, so where are we at? Like 9th grade, 8th grade? All right, so I got a couple girlfriends. Oh yeah, so because I played basketball, because I had a lot of friends, because I was always, you know, like, I consider myself an introvert, but I was always, for some reason, I was always attracted to people. I was always talking to people. I was always making friends. I'm funny. I'm smart. You know what I mean? Like, I dress cool. You know, it's like people liked me. Like, I was popular, and because of that, and because I played basketball, so not only did I have social status, but I had a skill that people respected and looked up to. Girls wanted me, and so I got girlfriends, and I was like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not some ugly dude, woo-woo. Like, girls were attracted to me, like, but it made it a lot better that I played basketball. It made it a lot better that I was popular. It made it a lot better that I had a big friend group. And so girls were like, oh, this guy's, and so I had girls like lusting after me. I had girls like, and I was terrible with girls. Terrible. I was absolutely terrible with girls. I would get flustered. I would get nervous. I didn't know what to say. And I knew they wanted me. I knew they were attracted to me. Like now, if I had the social status that I had then, and I have the confidence that I have now, I would be having sex all day, every day, because girls wanted me. I was terrified of them. And I was terrified of them because they fucking screwed me when I was younger. Before I was popular, before I was on the basketball team, you know, girls were, and they knew it. Some of them knew it. Some girls are cruel. They know they fucked your life up. Like, there was this one girl that I asked her out, and she just rejected me, like, just flat out no. She was just like, no. And she just rejected me. And like, I remember, like, we went to the same school, and I got popular, and I was popular in that school, and I was on the basketball team, and she was, you know, I remember one time she gave me this look that was just like, yeah, I know you, like, I've rejected you before, and like, just this look, and it's just like, girls are just evil, man. Like that nature, that female nature is just evil. Like, she knew she had my number a few years before, but now that I was popular, now I was on the basketball team, and I lost weight because I was playing basketball all the time, and like, I was attractive, like, I dressed well, like, She was like, yeah, but you used to be this other kind of dude. And it was like, oh, okay, I see you. I see how evil you are. You know what I mean? And like, so that was that. That was like 9th, 10th grade. I mean, like, it got me girlfriends, man. It got me, but I was always afraid of girls, man. I was terrified of girls. Even though I had girlfriends, I would kiss them and stuff. And like, I had the hottest girlfriend in 8th grade. Her name was Stacy Sanchez. She was this hot little mech. She was cute. She looked like Mariah Carey, man. She looked like Mariah Carey. She was pretty and she was fine. She looked like a mix between Mariah Carey and that singer Maya. She looked a lot like Maya. But like a mix between Mariah Carey and Maya. She was Spanish. Oh man, she was so fine. I could have had sex with her. I didn't know what I was doing. She was in a bikini one time and we were making out and she wanted me so bad. She wanted to fuck, and like, I just didn't because I was scared. I didn't lose my virginity to her. I should have. It was a perfect opportunity, but I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I did not know what I was doing because I was so scared of girls. I was so nervous because I had these negative experiences, and because you know, my parents were fucked up. Because my parents were fucked up. And the world is cruel, man. If you show one little bit of weakness, the world will eat you alive, man. You got to be confident at all times. You got to be on your game. You got to be on point, or the world will eat you alive. However, I do think that being nothing, being a nobody, going nowhere in your life is healthy. It's healthy because it shows you the other side of things. It shows you the real deal. It makes you real. There's so many fake people out here. There's so many assholes. There's so many people who are like wolves in sheep's clothing, who are liars, who want to put you down, who want to see you fail. Any little shred of weakness, of fear, of second guessing, they're gonna eat you alive. And in a time like this, when there's a pandemic and stuff, you can see it, man. You can see it. You know, we got all this uncertainty and this tension. You know, what's going to happen with the stock market? What's going to happen with the economy? What's going to happen to all the businesses? What about our banks? What about our money? All this, like, the people's real character comes out. You know, when everything's good, when everybody's got money, everybody's got their homes, everybody, like, yeah, it's easy to pretend like you're a proper person. It's easy to pretend like you're a great person. Oh, it's all good. Oh yeah, I got my money. I got this. I got that. Woo woo woo. Like, it's easy to pretend, right? But when shit hits the fan, your real character comes out, and that's why, like, in a way, I appreciate the fact that I suffered. I appreciate the fact that I had nothing for many years of my life, because now when I have something, because now when certain people are around me, not only can I enjoy the things that I have in a deeper way than other people, I think. Like I've had some great times that didn't have anything to do with money. I've had some great times that didn't have anything to do with me having a nice car or a nice house or super nice clothes. I've had awesome times in my life, and none of it had to do with any of that bullshit that the world seeks after, that the world enjoys and loves, etc., right? So being rejected and being poor and suffering and having nothing and going through all that shit brought character out of me, man. It you know, it's almost like when you squeeze the orange juice, like, yeah, you got a nice orange, it's real nice, it's all together, you know, it's all beautiful, it smells good, it's all great, but until you cut it, until you squeeze it, you can never taste the juice, man. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's a nice orange, I admire this orange, but until you squeeze it, you can never taste how great it is. You know, you can smell it a little bit, but until you press it, you just can't, right? So when there's suffering, when there's pain, like, real shit comes out of it, or fake shit, or, you know, fake shit. Like, you have some friends, or you got a girlfriend, or you got a girl who says she loves you, woo woo woo. But once you lose your status, once you lose your money, once you lose all your friends and your popularity, she's starting to look at you different. She's starting to treat you different. right? Because that's her true character. Her true character came out. It was all good when you were on top. It was all good when you were the man, right? It was all good when you were on the basketball team. And I've experienced this. You know, after I graduated high school, like, nobody was there anymore. It was like, now you're just like everybody else. Now you don't have social status. So it's like all these people in Hollywood who want to act like, oh, I'm so great. Oh, you know, I'm going to tell you how to live your life. I'm going to talk about all these issues and woo, woo, woo. Like, they're only able to say that because they got money and fame and power and riches. Like, you take that away from them, they're nothing. They're nobody. They don't have anything real. In fact, they make believe for a living. They make up stories and live stories for a living. And we look up to these people like they're our leaders or something. It's laughable. It's comical. It doesn't make no damn sense. And when we're going to let these people lecture us on morality, when they're some of the most immoral people on earth, they can't even stay married to each other. They're greedy and they're the most morally degenerate people. And yet we're going to let them lecture us on how to live our lives, right? It's bullshit. So you take away all that outward shit from people and you see who they really are, you know? And I've been through so many situations with so many friends, so many girls who were not there for me after I fell off, after I was no longer the cool guy, after I, so eventually I learned. Eventually, like in my 20s, I put it together and I was like, okay, you got to be confident. And it took me a long time. It took me years to like reprogram my brain to even just be normal, let alone be like extra cool, and let alone be like, oh yeah, I'm the man type of shit, to where girls want you, right? Even just to be normal, I had to reprogram my brain. Even because I came from abuse. I came from, well, not necessarily technically horrible abuse, but I came from dysfunction. We'll put it that way. My parents were not normal. My dad was an alcoholic. We were poor. We were on welfare. Once my dad moved out, my mom had to go back to college herself. We had to get on welfare. I was that kid who was going to the store with food stamps. You know what I mean? I didn't know anything about nutrition. I had to teach myself about nutrition. I had to teach myself how to work out. I had to read. I had to watch certain types of movies where I learned how to be a man. I learned how to talk. I learned how to even be normal. I had to teach myself how to be normal because that's how dysfunctional my parents were. And that's how volatile our home life was. I had to reprogram my brain to even be normal. And it helped and it worked, right? It helped and it worked. I've been through a lot, all kinds of shit, that's how I got the red pill too, because you learn when you're down and out, you learn, oh, social status matters. Oh, money matters. Oh, the fact I got this car, that woo, that matters, right? And that's what most of these people are going after, because that's all they have. They don't really have real love, because if your love dwindles and dries up and burns up whenever there's a problem or whenever there's, things aren't going so smoothly, then you don't have real love. And I would say probably not a lot of people in this world really do have real love. They've got conditional love, and they've got a kind of selfish love. And, this is all the stuff that I learned. This is all stuff that I learned from suffering. This is all stuff that I learned from going through all kinds of peaks and valleys. I'm talking about having, mental breakdowns. I'm talking about going to the hospital a bunch of times, not knowing what's wrong with me, suffering deep depression, suffering agoraphobia where I couldn't go out in crowds, fighting through it, learning how to get, be normal, get myself out of the house, right? All kinds of shit, you name it, man. Being sick, being rejected, losing jobs, having to quit jobs because I couldn't sleep because I had insomnia. All kinds of shit that I've been through. And that kind of sums up, my high school and college days. I never did finish college, but You know, I'm really close to getting an AA, which is pretty much a miracle considering all the shit that I've been through. And that's not even to mention like real life shit, like fighting with my brother, getting into fist fights with my brother, getting kicked out of, you know, of the apartment with my brother because we got in a fist fight, you know, having to move around. I was never homeless, thank God, but, you know, I've been through all kinds of shit, man. All kinds of shit. And believe me, all kinds of shit with friends and all kinds of shit with girls. So I know what it is. I know what these people today are like. I know what girls are like. I know what these fucking phony friends are like. I know all about hypergamy, man. I know about all that shit. Like, I've been through it. And this is only half of my story, man. This isn't even what I really wanted to talk about. I really want to talk about the last 10 years. So I'm going to continue this in a minute because this is getting too long, but I'm going to continue this in a minute and I'm going to talk about my last 10 years in detail, how I met a